Welcome to the Grown and Greek podcast. And of course, we've got another great episode, another wonderful person of the D9 that I have the fortune to introduce you to today. He is a native of Anniston, Alabama, member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated by way of Jacksonville State University, Ada Mu chapter, where he got his undergrad degree in social work. Currently, he is a real estate investor. Cannot wait to talk about that. Owner of commercial properties, and he flips and builds homes. He was named one of the top 5%ers producing in real estate agent in the Atlanta area, the Atlanta Realtor Association. He spends a lot of his time giving back, which we are so proud about, to his community, mentoring young men. Please welcome to the Grown and Greek podcast, Mr. Anthony Thomas. What's good?
It's a blessing to be here. Better to be seen and not viewed.
Hey, you know what? That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it, because that's not a good spot to be in. But thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I was looking for someone of your dynamic contributions, and I'm so glad to connect with you and have a conversation. So I'm excited about this one.
Thank you for having me today. I'm honored to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. We have roots in the same actually like 30 minutes from each other, really. Yep. You're a Southern boy, graduated from JSU, and I know a few fellas that came through the same chapter as you at Jacksonville State University. So I know your roots are really deep and rich. So tell me about, your climb from coming from Alabama, the small community that you're in, to, going to the big pond and making your way to the 5% in the ATL, and what that means, for community, and, how you've been able to navigate that.
All right. Well, you asked me earlier, was I an ace? And I am. I started and crossed by myself as a solo club. And so I'm just not too many things shake me. You cannot be afraid of change. That's what I teach my kids. You see my two daughters in the background, along with my lovely wife. And I always teach them the same thing. Don't be afraid of change. And so I didn't want to be a big fish in a small pond. I wanted to come to Atlanta and just make my own stake and claim into real estate. I came here for more opportunity, in a nutshell.
And you've been in the A for how long?
I've been here we moved here in 2015. We moved to Gwinnett County in 2015.
Okay. And Ace Club by yourself. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So I know, let me see. I know one person, actually from I graduated from University of Montevallo in Alabama. But that's the only Ace solo that I have ever known. Anthony, what in the world?
So there is one other from my chapter. I mean, my mom just taught me at a young age. I was raised by a single mother, and I don't say that with any shame. My mother was a phenomenal mother. And she always taught me to finish whatever you start. So that was my thing, just finishing what I started. And it was kind of funny because I was older than even my VP, and I was 25. I wasn't a I wasn't a traditional student at that point. I had a child, and my wife was actually working. So it was pretty funny to be older than most people in my chapter. Even maybe the advisor.
What? Oh
yes.
My God.
Yes.
So you talking about your mom, you're quoted as saying, it's not how you start, but how you finish.
Yes.
And growing up where you come from, and those values and stuff with your mom, man, how has that shaped you, not only as a man and a family man, but professionally, and what you're doing today?
I have a saying that life can either make you better or it can make you bitter. I've been through a lot of things in life, and I choose to be a better person as a result. Your past does not make for your future. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. And that within itself was my college career. I started at UAB in 2003, the fall, and I played around in school for a long time. I really looked up to the Kappas at that campus because at that time they had a tradition of dressing up on Tuesdays. So I would see them with their bow ties on, and that just was so intriguing to me. And and of course I messed my GPA up after 2 years of being there. I transferred. I quit school with a 1.9 GPA and only had after 48 hours only 19 transferred. That's how many hours I wasted. Which is why I say all the time, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I ended up transferring and going to community college, to come back to Anniston to get more help with our family, with my daughter. My mother-in-law told us that she would help us with her because we were young parents in our 20s, at the time. And so I enrolled back in school at Gaston State. I went there for a year, got my GPA up, and then I transferred into Jacksonville State. At that time, I was extremely focused, and graduated 2010 with a 3.0. It's very hard to bring a 1.9 up to a 3.0. So I was able to do that, which is why I always say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I just use that as a motivation for anybody in the situation that you're in.
So I was like I said, I had spoken with my cousin who connected us, and she was saying, in terms of you being the person to speak life into others, and you being a person that's so full of knowledge and all. She said you are the exact person to talk to. So you talked about how you were able to bring your 1.9 up to a 3.0. You had to get back focused. You wasted some time. You did, I guess the what is it, fish out of water thing at first,
Yes,
and then
yes,
you got it back together and everything. And so
yes.
now you do that often, and really are a person that mentors, and really tries to instill better values and stuff in young people. How did that come about? And you know how did you get to the point where you found your groove and stuff, and being a kind of a success coach, and putting instilling those values and things like that, especially in men, but in young people.
Well, I think I haven't mentioned yet God, faith, favor. Favor will have you in places that people will ask how you get there.
Mm.
And so I think if you believe in God, no matter what job we do, those are all resources, but God is the source. I think if you move on that, what's for you is for you. Nobody can stop it, only you can block it. And that's just what I operate on. And I just believe that even with moving here, I didn't have a plan, but I knew I'm a hard worker and I'm not afraid to fail. You cannot be afraid to fail. That's the biggest thing that I tell people. Because do you ever really fail? Or do you actually just get better at what you were doing? Oftentimes we start things and they don't work the way that we want them to, and people give up. But if you continue with it, real estate is a perfect example of that. Most people in real estate get their license or out of the business within 3 years. That sounded very intimidating to hear when I heard that. Or even the average agent makes $30,000 a year. That was intimidating to hear. But I told the person who hit me with that objective, I'm not average. I'm not average in anything that I do. So, with that being said, God, if you operate in the right capacity, God will give you that confidence. But just stay humble and just always know that it's not you. And so I know that it's not me. And I think that's the key of just understanding and staying humble when that success comes. I think that's harder than becoming successful, is staying humble once the success comes.
So speaking, let's talk right there. Speaking of success and long term success, and building long term success, instead of chasing those quick wins and things like that. What would what's one piece of advice, I guess, that you could give in terms of how you should construct your mindset to be able to do that, and be resilient along that journey.
Mindset is everything. If you get your mind right, your physical will get to where it needs to be. Mindset is the thing. I read a lot of books. I'm really into books. If someone shares with me a good book, when you think back in the Bible, God asked Solomon what he wanted. And Solomon didn't ask for money, he asked for wisdom. And when he got the wisdom, he became the richest man of that time. And so I think oftentimes I'm always just seeking wise counsel. I believe in mentorship. I am a mentor of other black men, but I have mentors. I don't think you're ever too old not to have a mentor. I would say that having mentors has really propelled me to where I want to be faster. Never be the smartest person in the room. That's one of the things that one of my mentors taught me. I had to learn that the hard way when he gave me that because he didn't elaborate on it. So when I was in college, um, everybody knew me at Jacksonville State because I ran the largest nightclub. I think it was the largest nightclub in Alabama at one time. I know it was second if it wasn't number one. I think Continental in Birmingham may have been largest, but I started doing that accidentally, just because of my chapter in my organization. I befriended the owner of the club, and he kind of took me under his wing. So I started doing parties for all the organizations. You had to go through me in order to book the club. So I was making six figures while I was still in school. And from that, I learned that you have to take money and you use money as a tool to make more money. That's what that taught me. And it's so ironic that yesterday I went to go see the owner of that club. He's 82 years old now. I
Hmm.
saw him make so much money at one night. He could make 50,000 in one night. I saw him do it. And he took me under his wing, coming from no entrepreneurial experience, no background or anything, just a typical student, seeing what he done and him teaching me that. I think that's one of the biggest keys to success is just whatever you want to do in life, find somebody that's already doing it.
Mhm.
Don't be arrogant enough to just jump out here and try out of nowhere. That's arrogance. Learn from someone who's already doing it and just learn from that and add on to it.
So this I got so many questions now. I got so many
Okay.
questions. So first one is, all right, you mentioned books, and
Yes.
I'm a an eternal learner. I love learning. I love, absorbing information and stuff. But for the audience, can you give me your, just say, top five books
Uh,
that you think are essential? And if you can't name five, give me three that are
I
essential
got
for professional, personal, and I guess emotional stability for that a person needs to have in their library.
good.
And
I'm
why?
glad you
And
asked.
why those
I'm
books?
so I'm so glad you asked me. I'm so
Okay.
glad. All right. So the number one, hands down, holy grail of books for me is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki is a book. It's a mindset book. Oftentimes when I go online and I watch people talk about that book, I know where you are right now by your response of what you got from the book. So if you say something, I saw a conversation once on Facebook where people were saying, all it does is teach you not to work for anyone. I'm like, well, if that's what you got from that book, you didn't read the book or you didn't comprehend what he was trying to convey in that book. So for me, it's a mindset book. And like I said earlier, mindset is a big thing. It just really teaches you options. I actually think that book should be taught in high school. So just real quick. That book, his rich dad, quote unquote, was an entrepreneur, which was his friend's dad, and then also he had his his biological father, which is not a poor man. He was a college professor with a master's degree. But what it teaches you is there are other options outside of getting a degree and just going to work a 9 to 5. That's the main um, gist of that book. Just teaching you that there are other options other than what our parents taught us, what most people deem to be the American family dream. So it's just a mindset shifter. It's just to let you know that there are other options out there. So that's my number one, hands down. I don't think that'll ever change. I never say never, but I just don't foresee it.
Okay.
Um, Number two, um, Peaks and Valleys by the same author that wrote Who Moved My Cheese. A
Hmm.
lot of people recommended to me Who Moved My Cheese. I read that book first. It didn't really resonate with me. Just because a book is well known or popular with other people, we are all different individuals that are wired differently. That book did nothing for me. But out of curiosity, I read another book by him, and it was Peaks and Valleys. That is a really good mindset book because you are going to have peaks and valleys throughout your life. That book was kind of synonymous with a scripture, a sermon that a pastor preached. Bishop Dale Brunner preached that sermon, Hills and Valleys, recently, and it just lined up perfectly. And so I would definitely recommend that book. It really just talks about that book talks about how when you are in the valley being the low times of your life, what are you learning while you are there? Are you
Mm-hmm.
just going to be the victim, or are you going to learn from those things? But then also how you need those valleys to get you to the peaks again. You can't just live life on the peaks because you don't learn. That's like someone who lives in Florida. They don't revere the beach the same way you and I do coming from Alabama. They
Mm-hmm.
take it for granted. And that's literally how the word works. Sometimes you have to go through those valleys to get back to the peaks. But then also when you're on the peaks, learn what it takes to stay in the peaks. That's one of the things that books teach you as well. It's a mindset book. And the third one that I will give you is Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun, which is a book that was written by one of my fraternity brothers, Reginald Lewis. God rest his soul. That's a really powerful book. That is a book about a black man who was the first black man to have $1 billion company. And so his book shows you how favor works. He's the first and only first and only person, period, to be accepted in a Harvard law school without ever applying. So he got there without applying. He had the record for the highest donation back to Harvard. He's the only black person to have their name on the building at Harvard University. Just so many things. He's an HBCU grad on his undergrad level. So that book really just it just motivates you, and it also makes me wonder, why have I not heard of who Reginald Lewis was way before I read that book? I was very disappointed that I had not heard who he was, because every year when you're younger, Black History people do the same old people, who were great people, don't get me wrong, but there were so many other people who we should have known, and he's definitely one of those people. So those are three books that I would say give that I think are very influential in my own life that I try to share with other people. Um, and they all serve different purposes.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's stick a pin right there. You talking about us not really knowing about some of these figures,
Yes.
and he's a member of the D9, so we
Yes.
have a direct line to his story and everything, and with like the it seems like the erasure of our history, our lineage, and achievements and things like that of our people that's seeming to happen right now. What do you think that we can do, Anthony, to preserve and get the word out a little bit more about these personalities and stuff and these figures? Because learning from the past and learning from those people, like you said, that have been successful, that are doing it, you know how can we, what do you think we can do to help that along?
Doing exactly what we're doing now, talking about it. It is our responsibility, no one else's. We're from Alabama. We know what goes on there as far as the oppression. It is our responsibility to teach these things. So, like when I found out about him, I'm in a group. I'm in a Kappa group online, on Facebook, private group. I shared in there with those guys. Like, man, he should be one of our laurel wreath recipients. Like, why is he not? And a lot of people had not heard who he was. A lot of people knew who he was. Just talking about it. I whenever I'm reading a good book, I share it on social media. I have a pretty good following on Instagram, so I'll share that. And a lot of young guys, I'm 40 years old. A lot of younger guys, the 30s and 20s, they reach out to me. I try to share a lot of things. I'm very family oriented. You see my family. I'm always posting them because I understand that sometimes that's the only opportunity that we get to see someone in that capacity. So we just got to talk about those things. I share. That's what we have to do, because otherwise nobody else is going to do it.
Hmm.
It's just not going to happen. It's our responsibility, and we can't leave it up to anyone else.
That's really important, and it's important to me too, because man, as I get a chance to dig into the D9, it's like 3 point something million of us, right? And it's just a
Yes.
small piece of the bigger collective. But as I get a chance to dig into the D9 specifically, meeting people like you, and meeting others and stuff, it's just, man, it blows my mind at how just phenomenal is not the word, but that's the only one, extraordinary, I guess, that I can use to really describe how powerful we are, together. And the individual stories that make up that tree, man, is just, I, us being together is just so powerful. I cannot wait for the day, when that happens, because I truly believe that it will, one day.
Yes.
But let's continue to talk about, you talking about sharing some of the resources and stuff that you are privy to. You talked about, I read in your bio that you like to listen to podcasts. Are there
Yes.
any that you can share that like to listen to, that you think that others should check out, and they can get something from?
Yes.
Besides
One of the most
besides Grown and Greek podcast, I'm just saying.
besides Grown and Greek, yes. So um, I get so many opportunities to do things. I've been so blessed. I was able to see Ed Milet speak in person in Anaheim, California, a couple of years ago. I was invited by some it was a real estate convention. It's the largest real estate convention in the world. And I was able to attend, and they told me I had heard how prolific of a writer and a speaker he was, but I was able to actually hear him speak. He has a podcast. I believe it's one of the number one podcasts in the world. So what I like to do is bounce back and forth between podcasts and books to break up the monotony. You can't just be books, books, books all the time. So you break it up. I like podcasts because they're different subjects. So I definitely would highly recommend his. There's a new one I've been getting into lately. He's kind of right now the only one I kind of been listening to. Um, Mel. I can't think of Mel's last name. She wrote Let Them. She's an author.
Uh-huh.
She has a really good one. I cannot think of her last name. My
Uh,
wife introduced me to her.
yeah, I
Um,
listened to hers too. Yeah.
yes. So I like
Rob
hers a little.
Robbins.
Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
But Ed Milet is one. But I'm really mostly in the books right now. I just go back and forth. And and because I'm always driving, like yesterday when I was talking to you, that I did at least 4 hours of driving yesterday. But I love to do that. Man, I get up every day like I don't forgive my language. I don't got to, I get to.
Mm.
Okay? That's one of the things I operate. I get to go and do work. So yesterday I got to go and sell a house. I was able to go and sell a house to my best friend, and so while I'm doing that, I always tell people, if you spend a lot of time in the car, like, use it as a time to learn. So I do a lot of audio books while I'm in the cars or podcasts. I put my noise canceling headphones in because it's really, really hard for me to concentrate. I do have ADHD. I have ADHD, and so that's another thing. Know what your strengths and weaknesses are. So most of the time, I don't do a paperback book. I have to do an audio book. Some people will say, "Well, that's not reading." It's reading to me because I can't read. I've never been able to finish a paperback, even in grad school.
Mm.
I was never able to finish a paperback book. Um, so you have to do what works for you, and so that's what I choose to do. I use that time in the car as because here in Atlanta where I do most of my business, you're going to average at least 1 hour of driving wherever you go. So I use that. I'm looking forward to what book I'm going to read next during that time. I make it fun. Make things fun. You got to make things fun. Look forward to it. So that's what I do.
So you mentor young men, specifically, and I know you mentor others too, but
Yes.
you're very active mentoring, and with philanthropy, you love to give back. Um, why is that such a big core part of your identity, and where did that, I know it didn't start with Kappa. It couldn't have, for it to be that. But why is that important? And what would you say, say to encourage others, specifically young men, to do that, so that they can, ultimately be pillars in the community like you are?
I grew up without a father, so I always was always trying. I never knew my dad. I was
Mm.
always trying to find bits and pieces
Mm.
of manly information on how to be a man from here and there. And I always knew how that made me feel. I remember being a social worker having to go to court to testify in a case, and I did not know how to tie a tie. And I was in my 20s. And I was in Alabama, in Pell City, going to court, St. Clair County, and that left me feeling so powerless, like asking different people. I'm running up to them, hey man, can you tie my tie for me? And I swore I vowed to learn how to tie a tie, but then also teach other men. Those little things matter, they add up. And so I think it's very important. um I can't save the world, but I can make a difference. And so I think that's one of the things. My first mentor was a remarkable lady. And I remember when she passed, Miss Velma North, God rest her soul. When she passed, it was just so many people that was lined up to speak at her funeral that they had to tell people to sit down.
Wow.
And I was like, look at her. I was like, look at her legacy. It was so many people in that line that wanted to speak on what she had done and how she impacted their life. And I was so motivated by that. And I was just like, man, people always say we can't take things with us, but even if you could, why would you want to? Why would you not want to leave it for the next person? If I could take something with me, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to take this house with me. I would want to leave it to my kids. So I think our legacy is the things that we can leave behind. The information that I give someone, they can give it to their kids. I'm not a gatekeeper, because again, you cannot believe that what God has for you is for you and somebody else can take it. You can't believe that and then be a gatekeeper.
Mm.
You know, so I believe in passing wealth and knowledge on to the next person, because person can help the next person. That's just legacy. There's an old story, old fable, parable, um, of the little boy that's walking along the shore of the sea, and he's picking up starfish and he's throwing back in the water. It's millions of them out there, and then the guy comes along. He says, "Man, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm throwing these starfish back in the water." He's like, "But it's millions of them. You're not making a difference." He picks up another one. He throws it in the water. He said, "I made a difference to that one." And that's just how you have to operate. You can't save everybody, but you can make a difference. And so I do have some mentors. I just took on another one. I just felt so compelled. He's my little risky guy. And I believe with young black men, if you can keep them out of the trouble until they're about 25, for the most part, they're out of the woods. But the key is keeping them out of trouble and keeping them off felonies and convictions, before they can actually figure out what they want to do in life. And so he's my little guy right now that I reached out to. And you got to know how to reach him too. You got to know how to reach him. I can't come to him as if I'm just this perfect guy that has never made no mistakes. I don't understand where he's coming from. That's the key. You may want to reach back, but if you have the wrong approach, that's not going to work with them. You have to reach them where they are. So with him, what I did was I showed him 2 commission checks that I made last week. I just started talking to him last week. I showed him 2 commission checks because he wants to get into real estate. And I'm like, well, these 2 checks should motivate you, because these 2 checks are more than what I made with my degree, in an entire year. I made more in 2 days than I made in an entire year when I was using my degree. And so I reached him on that level. He's still working, but I want to show him another opportunity that you don't have to rob, you don't have to steal, you don't have to cut someone else's throat, or take advantage of someone to provide and have a good living. And so that is key when you're reaching back.
So going back to your mentor, the club, I'm so intrigued. The club that you
Mhm.
ran when you were in college,
Yes.
and you seeing that opportunity of your mentor and the owner of the club making all of that money, and you're able to give that back to the young man that you were just speaking about. But what are some of the tools that you have in your toolkit now that you use all the time in all that you think are vital for someone else to be able to take, to be resilient and to to also I guess navigate opportunities and things like that may come along, that you understand you have to seize those moments. And what would you say to to being able to do that and be successful at it?
Just you just can't be afraid of failure. That's the key. That's the key. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. Um, whatever you do, even in that example of the nightclub, the first party I did, it was terrible. I lost money. It was terrible. We laughed about it yesterday, me and him. But after that, like I said earlier, instead of giving up, I just tweaked what I was doing. And by the end of it, when I was before the nightclub finally closed, my last event, it broke records. It broke concert records in reference to how many people we had in that club. So again, if I would have gave up after that first failure, I never would have saw the success on the back end. And I think that's the key. Do not be afraid to fail. Don't look at your failures as just that. Look at them as lessons. I don't make mistakes. I don't make mistakes. I make life lessons. There are lessons in that. And so a mistake is something that you do over and over and over again. And you don't learn from it. You keep doing it. But if you misstep here and there and you learn from it, you get better. It's not a mistake. It's a lesson.
Mm-hmm. So you started out in social work and you pivoted, I guess, into real estate.
Yes.
How did you do it? Where, because like those are two totally different ends of the spectrum, it seems. How did you, make that pivot, and how important is it for, people to understand how to do that and how to do it successfully, especially, as you go along and mature in life and, in, I guess, season opportunities with your interests?
Okay. So one thing about me, I'm consistent, okay? Anything that I tell you, it'll be consistent. I told you earlier when we were talking initially about mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
I got into real estate because of a mentor of mine, someone that um, is very successful in the real estate realm. He's one of the most prominent people in Birmingham. John Ray, he's my mentor. And so networking is very important to me. When I was doing a nightclub, everybody knew who I was. And so this guy connected me with him. He said, "Hey, I see you doing concerts." He was a Kappa as well. The guy that connected me, LeBert Hedgeman, is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi and Gamma Phi, which is Alabama A&M. He's well known brother, well known member, and he connected me because he saw how successful I was with that, and he was like, "I want to introduce you to like one of the gurus of entertainment," which he was. This guy, John
Yeah.
Ray, just tell you quickly who he is. He's my mentor. Um, he was the manager of the Temptations, Sinbad, Anita Baker, Bobby Rush. He's still Bobby Rush's manager. He was the creator of the Battle of the Bands in Atlanta, Birmingham, so many other cities, Jackson, It'll be in Mississippi. He was the creator of those things. He was also the creator of Southern Heritage Music Festival, which is a big festival back in the day in Birmingham. So he was a guy that he was also the first black man to be a broker in the state of Alabama. First black man with a liquor license. So many things, like just a pioneer of so many things. Who also had a mentor. His mentor was Dr. A.G. Gaston. So I locked in with him. And one thing I will say, whenever you coming to anybody looking for a mentorship, be serious. Don't waste their time. Provide value to them. When you come into someone, show them that you're serious. If they take a moment out of their time to take you to lunch, pay for it. Offer to pay for it. But also, when someone comes to me and they want to take me to lunch and they pay for it, I'm going to know whether they're serious or not if they come with a notepad and a pen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would you go meet with someone and not take notes? That is crazy to me. So I always just say when you're reaching someone, be serious and allow them the opportunity to make them feel like they're not wasting their time and they're not doing it in vain. And another thing, you're going to be presented with opportunity. Never misrepresent yourself. An example of that would be they gave me an opportunity to buy into a concert. And if I always was trying to deliver myself as someone who I wasn't, when it was time to actually handle the money and get to it, if I didn't have that money, I would have really messed that opportunity up. But I never, I always be honest. Like let people know what you can and cannot do. And so I was able to do what I said I could do. I had the money. I put it on the table. We made it happen. And so always be serious in that capacity too. Be ready because sometimes that opportunity don't come around again.
You spoke of a legend, because yeah, John Ray is that's a legend
Hmm.
right there, and
Yes.
highly respected. So that's pretty
Yes.
dope. That's pretty dope.
Yes.
You got the best. If you can, if
Thank
you
you.
So you came from the best. So you talked about the lessons that you've learned along the way, and how you give back and everything. But you are producing highly in the real estate game now. What's the secret, Anthony? Because to me, I'm interested in real estate, but I'm afraid of real estate because it seems like it's just so much to learn, but it's niche. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And you have to figure out like where you fit in all of that. But what is the secret? Because I know the secret to
Mhm.
success in the real estate game. And how have you been able to be a top producer? Because that's amazing in one of the richest, real estate cities in the country.
Okay. That's a powerful question.
Okay.
Um, First, it starts with networking. It's not what you know, it's who you know and who knows you. So I've always said it's not what you know, it's who you know. I've always said that. But then recently I was out at an event. I was at a cigar bar in Buckhead, and there was an older gentleman there, older black man, and I knew one of the guys, and we were all talking. And one of the guys said, I said it's not what you know, it's who you know. But then he said, no, it's who knows you. And so I added that to it. And so now I say it's not what you know, it's who you know, but also who knows you. Because you can say you know someone, but they might not know who you are. And so I'm big on networking. Anything you want to do, networking is the key to success. So for me, I know a lot of people, and it helped me get started in real estate. Just start with your core. You always want to start in real estate with your core of people who you know. Let them know who you are in real estate. And real estate will also teach you who your friends are. If your friends and family can't support you, that's a problem. So I always say, when I have a friend or a family member that is starting a business, I always make sure I'm one of the biggest cheerleaders, even if it's a business I don't even think makes sense, simply because your support has to start from within and your core first, you know? And so that really helped me out getting started. Just people giving me the opportunities like, hey, man, I know you're new. If you need to consult with someone, do that. But I want to see you help me help you. And so that was one of the keys to that, but make sure whatever you're doing, make sure your knife is sharp. So I'm always educating myself so that I'm always doing what's best for my clients. But at the end of the day, if you do a good job, your reputation will take you places that a billboard won't. And so advertisement it, of word of mouth is what really propels my business. Most of my clients are referrals. I actually prefer to work with referrals because of the fact that those clients are organic business versus inorganic business. If somebody finds me on a billboard, they don't know anything about me. They don't know. They haven't heard of any experience with me. They just found me on the billboard. And so I prefer to work with referrals because the person who referred you to me obviously spoke highly of me, but they've already painted a picture of the service that I provide. So that makes it easier for me to come in and not have to worry about you questioning, my integrity or my level of knowledge, or even sometimes you get people who will say, "Well, I heard about real estate agents. My mom told me not to trust them." Well, if you don't trust me, why are you working with me? Don't I don't go to my doctor and argue with my doctor. There are plenty of other doctors out there. So that's the same analogy. I'm an analogist guy. So I always say, hey, do you argue with your doctor? Well, if you don't argue with me. So that's it.
Amen. Do you think that well, let me ask it this way. Commercial real estate or flipping and building homes, which do you delight in the most, and why?
I so just to clarify, 95% of my business is residential.
Okay.
Okay. I do some commercial. I own some commercial buildings, but I absolutely positively prefer at where I'm at in my career now is building houses. I prefer building over flipping. I prefer that over being an agent. I actually, to be honest with you, I'm still an agent. I just take that to put it back into my building business. Okay, so I absolutely prefer building more, but I think you have to start out here in order to get here. And so I'm kind of an anomaly because you typically won't find an agent who produces at the level that I do, who does building and flipping, usually they're gonna just stay on that side. They don't really do both. And so my ultimate goal is to get on the development side and stay and just solely do that. That's coming, somewhere down the road very soon, last couple of years, because that's really my goal. That's what I really enjoy doing. I enjoy all of it, but I enjoy that more.
How does the market look, and what do you think it's gonna look like? Just say over the next 10 years or so for affordability, and what should people be preparing for in terms of that?
Good question. So I think when we answer that question, I think it's specific to certain areas. So like my idea of what is going to go on in Atlanta will not be the same thing or how I feel about my hometown in Anniston. So here in Atlanta, I think Atlanta will continue to thrive because it's still one of the most affordable major cities. And then of course we were number two in movie production for a very long time. We're now number one, and I don't see that changing anytime in the foreseeable future. We have a lot of production companies and studios that have moved from LA here because the tax purposes is more affordable. They can buy property here cheaper. Just in every capacity, it's just better here for them in that industry. We have the busiest airport in the world. We have a bunch of Fortune 500 companies have their headquarters here. Home Depot and so many, a few others. Delta, just to name a few. So those are the kind of things that I think are really going to propel Atlanta. We are the Black Hollywood. When we think of DC, DC is the old black wealth. Atlanta is the new money people. So it's opportunity. Now, so I think when we answer that question, I think it's just relative to what we're talking about. I love my people in Alabama. I love Alabama, but I don't see the same thing happening for Birmingham as I do Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even the mindset I've witnessed is a little bit different. And I'm not picking on my Alabamians because people know that's the first thing I lead when I'm from Alabama. But I think the mindset is different. I think Alabama has a lot more potential, but I just feel like sometimes we like to see us do well, but not better than you in certain places. Like, and I can prove it. Atlanta does not have a black luxury real estate agent. They didn't have one when I first got into business. They still don't have one.
Oh, wow.
So, so those are not conversations that I can just come out and say, well, hey, y'all know that y'all can use this agent who you use to buy your entry level house. When you get ready to buy the house over the mountain in Birmingham, you can use them to buy that house again. They don't do that. So I think that's for two reasons. One, um, we still believe sometimes that I'm trying to say this carefully, okay? Um, the other people's ice may be a little bit colder than our own, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to say that as subtle as I can, but you understand what I'm trying to say. I think that mindset is still there, as opposed to Atlanta, where it's like I get people sometimes to be like, "Hey, I want to live in a predominantly African American neighborhood," which I can't really um, point them in one direction or other, but they're more intentional about having a realtor that looks like them or a lender that looks like them or those things. You see that a little bit more. It's more prevalent here than a lot of other places.
Mm-hmm. And then what you get from it, on top of just being like being intentional, what you get from it just enriches your life, period. So yeah,
Yes,
that's dope. So let's fast forward 20 years from now. You said you're 40 now, so you'll be 60, right?
God
Well,
willing.
close to retirement. If you choose, you say you living the life now, so that's good. So maybe by then you won't even be thinking about work, you just playing or whatever. But when
Mhm.
folks mention the name Anthony Thomas, what do you want them to say about your legacy and what you are leaving in the world at that time?
I just I tell my kids you can never control what comes out of someone else's mouth about you. Just make sure it's not true. If it's something bad, all right. If it's something bad, um, but then also take pride in if it's something good. So hopefully, what people are saying about me 20 years from now is the same thing they're saying about me today. Um, my reputation precedes me as a person, and I think that. you have to you can't, I don't want to block my blessings. So I always want to make sure I'm doing the right thing by people, because oftentimes in this profession they really don't know whether I'm working in their best favor and interest or not. They really have to trust me, because most of my people, our people, especially the young ones, they have no clue how real estate really works. So they really don't know. And so I just want to make sure that 20 years from now, the things that are being said about me are the same things that are being said today about me.
Amen. Amen. Now, outside of real estate and coaching and mentoring and stuff, what's a hobby or interest that you think people would be surprised to know about you?
Well, you definitely won't be surprised to know that I love to work out. That's I believe that life is very, very stressful. So I believe that everybody should have at least one positive outlet. My mother was a functioning alcoholic her entire life, and she taught me that vicariously through her. I learned that if you don't find a positive way to manage stress and the life itself, you'll find a way. It just may not be a positive way. So that was her outlet. So I always just watch her, and how she handled life and the things that life gave. And I said, I want to find a positive one. So for me, the thing that won't surprise people that know me is that I love to work out. I'm very disciplined about going on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And I try to go, I go those days for sure. Like some of the young guys that know me, they know my saying is never miss a Monday, because those are the days that I know I'm going to go to the gym. They're non-negotiables for me. Some things that people may not know about me is that I have 33 guns. I love to shoot. I go to the gun range. I live less than a mile from a gun range. I like to hunt. I'm a country boy. Not many people know that about me. But I would just say this: I was buying a gun a couple of years ago, and the young man, I was waiting on them to bring me my gun out the back, and I was just in the store like a kid. It wasn't my first gun. I had plenty of guns, but it hit me at that moment. The young man, he asked me what did I do for a living, because it was an expensive gun. So he was like, "Man, what do you do for a living? That's an expensive gun." So I told him I was a real estate agent. He was 19. I was 38 at the time. And I said, man, it just hit me while I was talking to him. I said, always make sure you find things that always make you feel like a kid again. I said, I'm in the store right now, waiting on y'all to bring me this gun. I'm excited like a kid. And so I just shared that with him. And it was an aha moment for me too. Like, always have those things in your life. We're adults, but it's a blessing to have a childlike mind in some capacities. You know how kids, they're so
It's
excited about
biblical.
things, they
It's
appreciate.
biblical.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it hit me in that moment. So I just share with people, have some positive outlets and always have something that makes you that you're looking forward to. Me and my wife, we travel a lot. So I'm always looking forward to the next trip. We just got back from Antigua. I was in DC last week. We were gonna go to Destin this weekend. We travel a lot. We're the Black Cosby family. But we decided to wait. We decided to wait because I do not like crowds. So I'm not the guy that's gonna go to New Orleans during Essence Festival. I'm gonna go the opposite way during that time. I don't like crowds. So that's just kind of how I kind of maneuver.
So I have a Glock 43X.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Tell me why it's nice. And I hate to say it, Anthony. I have not gone to the range. I've been trying to get my brother to take me to the range and help me out and shoot it and learn it and all of that kind of stuff. But um, give me a little bit about getting over my nerves and stuff with handling a piece real quick.
So, so it's funny you say that because first of all, the Glock is very reliable. That's the thing about a Glock; they're very reliable. I got a Glock I bought at 21. It was my first pistol. I bought that gun at 21. I'm 40. I can take that gun to the range right now. It'll still fire. So with no problem, like it's brand new. So they're very reliable. Um, I'm glad you kind of brought it up for a second because black people in general, but definitely black women, have to learn how to properly use guns safely, because you can't always rely on calling 911. So you just have to. When we think about like Wall Street, Black Wall Street, they had everything. They were very successful, but one thing they could not do was defend themselves. They did not buy any guns. They had the opportunity to do it, but they just for whatever reason didn't learn how to protect themselves. So I think it's very important. I'm pro 2A. I'm very 2A in reference to guns being in the right hands. And I just honestly I want to have the same thing the criminals have. If somebody runs in my house and they have a gun, I want to have one too. I at least want to have what they have. And so here in Atlanta, we have a huge crime. We in 2020 when COVID hit, crime peaked everywhere, but it became really bad in Atlanta with car break-ins. My car was stolen. They never recovered it. It was bad. And so you could call 911 and get put on hold or sometimes they never even answered to even put you on hold. So imagine how unnerving that would be if someone's breaking in your house and you dial 911, they put you on hold. So I think it's very important. You save yourself first. It's your responsibility to save yourself. So in your case, I meet so many women who have guns that they never shot. I would tell you, don't wait on your brother. There are gun ranges that teach gun safety. They would teach you how to use your gun properly. You can go in there and rent a gun, and just take that time to learn how to properly use one.
I'm on it. I'm on it, and that gave me a push. So I appreciate that. Because I'm like, I want to, I want somebody to hold my hand or whatever. But you're right. You're right. So I gotta get the get over my nerves, in other words. But it's been a pleasure to talk to you and make your acquaintance. And I feel the energy. And I know that if I hit you up, I know you're gonna have a good word for me. And I'm
Yeah.
excited to, for other people to know who you are, because you are golden, and you are a gem to the D9 and to society. And I just appreciate you spending a little time with me. So how can people reach out to you? How can people stay connected to you? And can you share that information?
Sure. So my Instagram is Anthony Flips Atlanta. You can just message me, DM me. Um, I don't post a lot of real estate content. I probably had 3 closings within the last 2 weeks, 4 closings the last 2 weeks. You won't see it often. I don't put that on there, but so just I got to do a better job of that. But I do want to say this before I leave. I'm a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi, but we have to learn that even beyond our own organization, we all are serving the same purpose.
That's
And
right.
that's one of the reasons I'm on this call today, because I want to support you. Oftentimes I see other organizations and we're so divided, and that's not what it was intended to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel like my fraternity is the best fraternity it is? Absolutely. But when I was on the plane last week, and because I always wear my hat when I travel, a Kappa, you're gonna know I'm a Kappa when I travel, because if I run into the right person, it's gonna be advantageous for me. I've gotten upgrades on flights, all type of things, because I'm a member. And so there was a guy on the plane. He was a flight attendant. He was giving me a hard time because I was a Kappa. I never found out. I never found out what he was, but he was giving me a hard time the whole time. The flight attendant was, and how I made a mistake. He was just joking, of course, but I laughed and I enjoyed that banter back and forth, because oftentimes we use these organizations as divisive mechanisms, and we got to stop that. As the younger members are the ones that do that more. I'm guilty of it. When I was in school, we didn't get along with the alphas, but I brought the alphas and the kappas together in my chapter, in my school, and some other alphas. I'm giving them credit for that as well, along with some other members, because we got to create that cohesion. Because at the end of the day, we all are black, and we all are trying to find out, and we got the same struggles. We just got different letters.
Amen. Amen. And that, that's the mission, of this podcast. And it's I'm so thankful that you say you're putting that out there too, and putting that message out there, because I totally agree. And there's nothing like being amongst other D9 people, other D9 members, and just the swell of love. Number one, the swell of
Mm-hmm.
love that you feel, but
Mm-hmm.
the empowerment that you feel, that you can do anything. You can absolutely do anything together. And
Absolutely.
that is the most powerful feeling that, this platform is giving me. So, I'm feeding my soul, and I hope that, others have the opportunity to understand what that is too. So thank you so much for saying that
Yes.
means everything. So I appreciate
Yes.
that. But Anthony, thank you for being on the podcast, and I look forward to keeping in touch and keeping this link in this chain strong and tight. And I look forward to supporting everything that you do, and I'm gonna tell so many people about you so you can add a few more members to your mentorship roster, if that's okay with you.
I thank you for your time. It is a pleasure. Okay. It was my pleasure. Okay.
Yeah. And as always, make sure that you like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe to the Grown and Greek podcast on podcast platforms. And of course, you can watch on YouTube. Anthony Thomas, Kappa Alpha Psi, the
To the
one,
day I
the
die.
only, the Ace Club. I appreciate you, my brother.
God bless. Y'all have a great day out there.
You can support Grown and Greek by subscribing to the podcast, shopping our exclusive luxury accessory line, or purchasing books from the D9 Book Club by visiting our website at grownandgreekpodcast.com. Don't forget to like, comment, and share on social media at Grown and Greek Podcast. Thanks for watching.